Homage to the fundamental teacher Buddha Shakyamuni, homage to the wisdom warrior Manjushri, homage to all the benevolent lineage masters. The Dharma, infinitely profound and subtle, is rarely encountered even in a million eons. Now that we are able to hear, study, and follow it, may we fully realize the Tathagata's true meaning. In order to liberate all sentient beings from samsara, please generate the supreme bodhicitta. Before we start today's teaching, we will continue to study the Vajra words of the Silver Line prayer. The reason that I'm imparting this prayer is because Buddhists in the mainland region are mostly Sutrayana practitioners, with a minority of Vajrayana practitioners. They are unfamiliar with the life story of Padmasambhava and are not acquainted with the profound teachings of Vajrayana. So this time, by learning the introduction to the Seven Line Prayer, they can get a better understanding of the extraordinary qualities of Vajrayana. If the teaching goes against the principles of Buddhism or secular morale, then there's no need to mention and emphasize them. If it is indeed fallacious, yet we insist on convincing people that it's the truth, then this is none other than a deception. So we should never do that, and we never will. In the past, due to many reasons, many people were not familiar with Vajrayana. When it comes to the extraordinary accomplishments in Tibetan Buddhism, accounts of the rainbow body, etc., they either think these as impossible or consider miraculous accounts as tales. In fact, such notions or reactions are unreasonable. Without any questions, Tantric Buddhism offers abundant pith instructions, and once a practitioner who has conviction put them into practice, they will truly feel the blessing, spiritual experiences, and even the attainment of enlightenment. This is for sure. That's why I really hope to let more people become familiar with the stories of great lineage masters as recorded in history. Most practitioners nowadays are quite devoted, but without the guidance of an authentic spiritual teacher, their fundamental knowledge is inadequate to support a thorough understanding of the doctrine. If that is the case, one will easily go astray. Sometimes, they may even criticize the sacred teachings. As a matter of fact, when reading the biographies of great masters, you will realize how ample and wonderful the pith instructions are offered in Tibetan Buddhism. For example, I recall the story of the nun Jomo Menmo. She was an accomplished female master in Tibetan. There is a very well-known story about her. She followed Guru Choki Wanchuk, who was her spiritual teacher. After her potential as a Tibetan awoke, she later revealed many mind treasures. When she was 36 years old, along with her two female attendants, performed a talk offering. Then, without relinquishing their physical bodies, all three ascended into the sky and flew directly to Padmasambhava's Pure Land. Many local nomads nearby witnessed the miraculous departure. They came to the place where they had made the talk offering, picked up and ate the remaining offerings that they left behind. This is a very typical story of an accomplished Vajrayana practitioner recorded in history. There are similar stories in Han Buddhism. One is about the first Chinese bhikkhuni named Jingjian. I quoted this story in my writing. the concise biographies of Vajrayana practitioners who attained rainbow body. The book was published in the Quarterly Journal of Luoyang Buddhism as early as 1997. In Master Longlin's commentary on the Heart Sutra, a book called Lives of Great Nuns also featured the story of Bhikshuni Jingjian's enlightenment. In the early days, there were no bhikshuni in the mainland region, and the Vinaya concerning the female Sangha were incomplete. Later, Jingjian and several others received the bhikshuni precepts from another group of bhikshus. When she was ordained, the shrine hall was filled with an unusual fragrance, and many other auspicious signs emerged. Later, she observed the Vinaya rules strictly and pursued her study tirelessly. According to her biographies, she secretly engaged in the most profound tantric practice. When she was 70, one day, a beautiful rainbow appeared in the sky, and a celestial lady stepped down from the rainbow, holding a bouquet of flowers, and ushered Bhikshuni Jingjian to the Pure Land. Bhikshuni Jingjian told her fellow nuns, "I am going to the Pure Land now. Take care and practice the Dharma diligently." After bidding farewell to them, she followed the celestial lady towards the Pure Land without leaving her physical body behind. This is the attainment of the rainbow body of great transference in Vajrayana. The body transforms into light, leaving nothing behind, not even a single fingernail or a piece of hair. So we should keep in mind that there are many pith instructions in Buddhadharma. A couple days ago, some female students asked, "Are there any stories on female practitioners and their enlightenment?" In the past, I addressed this subject on different occasions. Whether you are a male or a female practitioner, if you have strong conviction towards your guru, the three jewels, and the excellent dharma, you can all go to the Pure Land without relinquishing your physical bodies. Such instances and stories are countless. Therefore, to encourage people to understand Buddhism is very important. Otherwise, some people may criticize Tantrayana, Padmasambhava, the 8 great sadhana teachings of the Nyingma tradition, and more. They cannot accept all these tantras. In one respect, their behavior is understandable since they have never followed a good spiritual teacher who could guide them properly. Meanwhile, because of their secular education and previous life experiences, they have never learned about the excellent qualities of Tibetan Tantrayana, the origin of the lineage masters or pith instructions. Thus, they are very likely to be confused by ignorance, especially under the influence of negative surroundings. For example, if they follow disqualified teachers, they are more likely to slander Tantrayana. This can happen quite easily. So, through the study on the merits and the practices of Padmasambhava, you should know that in this lifetime, even if you're not very successful in practicing Tantrayana's profound teachings, don't ever make any vicious remarks to denigrate it or insult the profound view, meditation, and conduct. Otherwise, you will suffer horrible consequences within this very life and take rebirth in the 3 lower realms with no chance for liberation in future lives. This is most likely to happen. Thus, it is important that through this teaching, we can understand a portion of qualities of Padmasambhava. As for me, I have always been particularly fond of Guru Rinpoche since childhood. Throughout my entire life, whenever I was herding yaks, studying in schools, or practicing as a monk, this devotion has never faded in the last 3 to 4 decades. I have never had the slightest doubt or wrong view towards the profound view and practice of Guru Rinpoche. But I have noticed that some Dharma practitioners who criticized Tantrayana did so out of their lack of understanding. Some seem to have a strong conviction at first, but later, due to various reasons, they ended up rejecting Tantrayana. They turned against and even slandered the teachings of Padmasambhava. These are horrible actions. I hope that you don't go astray onto the path of ignorance. Today, we will continue with the study on the 7-line prayer practice. And in the future, when trouble threatens from barbaric forces, it will be as Takshem Semten Lingpa has foretold in a secret prophecy. I, Padmasambhava, will bear the name of Rudra Chakri, and with my 25 disciples, lord and subjects, I, the lineage king, will be escorted by my army. This is a prophecy. Here, Padmasambhava said that in the future he will assume a wrathful form. According to the annals of history, the wrathful form mentioned here is Rudra Chakri, the king of Shambhala. Some historical records indicate that about 200 or 300 years from now on, anyhow in a few hundred years to come, when the barbarians of the human world are about to destroy Buddhadharma, the army of Kalachakra descend to the human realm from their kingdom to India, the Tibetan region, and many other places, and they will subdue all those who hold wrong views and will conquer the earth. This is clearly documented in the history of the Kalachakra. In the present time, those who come into contact with the Kalachakra or the teachings of Padmasambhava will attain liberation at that time in the future. Many spiritual masters will come to this world at that time. Nipan Rinpoche will be born as Senkepu. His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok's previous incarnation, Tertan Sogya, will take birth as Karma Dorji, the commander of Kalachakra's army, and all the followers of his lineage will become the soldiers of this future legion. However, this troop of Kalachakra is in no way the same as an ordinary army who harms sentient beings ruthlessly. When the time comes, through miraculous transformations, the army of Kalachakra will conquer Mara's armies, evil forces, and Totikas. With great compassion, the army will liberate their rivals' consciousness and give them teachings according to their capacities. How privileged we will be if we take rebirth at that special time. So, many great masters even make the specific aspiration to be born then. In 1986, His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok once gave the Kalachakra empowerment. His Holiness said one emblem was needed for the Kalachakra empowerment. After careful consideration, the red Garuda was chosen as the emblem. It's the one that many of you wear around your neck all the time. About the reason for choosing the Garuda as the emblem, some old Dharma friends might have heard of Tuku Dicha. At that time, Tuku Dicha offered a tanka of Garuda to His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok, which was seen as an auspicious sign. His Holiness said that when he was in the violet blue valley, Dakini Tari Lamo offered him a silver coin. On one side of this coin is an image of the sun rising above the snow mountains, which symbolized that the time of reviving Buddhadharma has come. Before the Kalachakra empowerment, Rinpoche was just considering making the Garuda the emblem of the empowerment. And then Tuku Dicha offered the tanka of the Garuda, which was very auspicious. At that time, we made a picture of the Garuda in black and white, and every Dharma friend bought one. It was made by a Chinese man who had stayed here temporarily for photography. Rinpoche said that him and Tuku Yiping were haggling over the price of the picture with the man all morning. They finally brought the price down to 50 cents per piece. $1 renminbi was the initial price, but it was bargained down to 50 cents. Every one of us was asked to purchase one, the emblem of the empowerment. In the future, the Garuda will be the emblem for the Kalachakra Legion. From then on, His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok started to propagate the Red Garuda. For the welfare of Dharma friends, I designed a logo of the Red Garuda, and this logo was printed on the cover of many of our Dharma books. There are two auspicious reasons for doing this. First of all, Rinpoche said that the Red Garuda is the emblem of Shambhala's army. In the same way, we should make the aspiration to manifest as a soldier of Kalachakra to subjugate an assembly of Maras. Another reason being that countless eons ago, there was a universal monarch. One of his 1,003 sons aspired that when all his brothers were to attain Buddhahood, should there be any obstacles, he would be the one to dispel them. At that time, the prince made such an aspiration, and that's how he became a Garuda. In Tibetan Buddhism, there are many dharmas of Garuda practices. In the treasure text of Dorje Dechen Lingpa, there are sadhanas of the Black Garuda, as well as practices of multicolored Garuda, Red Garuda, and many others. His Holiness often talked about and delivered teachings on the Red Garuda. As a matter of fact, practices of the Red Garuda are easier to engage. In the treasure text, there is a practice with a rather simple visualization. First, visualize an egg emitting 5 colored rays of light. On top of the egg, there is a symbolic Tibetan syllable, chom. I should write it down. No pen here. This pen is too small. Is there a marker? The Tibetan word chom looks like this. Maybe you can't see it clearly. Can people at the back see it? Alright, it's fine. I can write it down later for you. The syllable chom instantaneously turns into a red Garuda, holding a venomous snake with its beak. Both wings were blazing with red burning fire. The Garuda emits a self-resonating sound of mantra and burns the vicious nagas with its fire of wisdom. Visualize this while reciting the mantra of Garuda. This mantra is very important. Since we are in the age of degeneration, sometimes the vicious nagas could cause great harms and threats to us. Where were we? Anyway, since we are talking about the symbol of the Garuda, it would be auspicious for us to wear the Garuda badge from now on, as it can bring us a lot of benefit, especially protecting us against all hostile forces, such as maras, vicious dragons, negative local deities, and all kinds of obstacles. Now, back to where we were. The army of Kalachakra can conquer all evil spirits in the world. Thus, he prophesied that he will subdue the barbarians and propagate the teachings of the sacred mantra. In the future, they will wipe out all barbarians and will propagate Vajrayana in Jambu-Diva, particularly the practice of Kalachakra. Guru Rinpoche predicted also that in the cool land of Tibet, most of the non-sectarian holders of the old and new traditions would be his emanations. Treasure Revealer Takshem Semten Limpa also prophesied that in this cool land, which refers to the land of snow, within all the new schools like Gelugpa, Kadamba, etc., and the ancient school, the Nyingma, the holders of the old and new translation schools will mostly be emanations of Padmasambhava. I think many of you already know this. Some think that I am a student of the Nyingma tradition, I shouldn't follow the Gelug's tradition. Or I belong to Gelugpa, I cannot study the teachings of the Sakya tradition. Or I follow Sakyapa, I shouldn't learn the teachings of the Kagyu tradition. They feel that all these traditions are completely incompatible and contradictory. Such an opinion is actually illogical. In fact, many great masters or the Dharma holders of Tibetan Buddhism have repeatedly told us that the founders of each tradition are manifestations of Buddhas or Bodhisattvas. The doctrines that each of them propagated are not contradictory, such as generating bodhicitta, accumulating merits, and attaining the two kayas, and so on. Concerning this issue, many Tirdans, enlightened masters, and erudite scholars of the Nyingma tradition have left numerous teachings to this effect. Of course, as a Nyingmapa myself, it might be quite difficult to argue a point with only references coming from our own tradition. In the past, His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok often quoted teachings of great masters from the Gelug tradition to demonstrate this point. First of all, we should know that these three founders of three schools, Padmasambhava of the ancient school, Atisha, and Tsongkhapa of the new school, are actually different manifestations of one embodiment. How do we prove that? The fourth Panchen Lama of the Gelug tradition, Lobsang Chogi Gyatsen, once said, the Siddha Padmasambhava of great wisdom manifested in the form of the glorious Atisha, then again manifested as Lobsang Drakpa. I take no other refuge but in you all. It means that the great Siddha, Padmasambhava of the early translation school, introduced Buddhadharma and laid a solid foundation for the development of Sutrayana and Vajrayana. During the later translation school, Atisha Dipankara disseminated Dharma widely. The next wave of Dharma propagation was accomplished by another emanation, Lobsang Drakpa. Lobsang Drakpa is Tsongkhapa's common Tibetan name, which is often used in the prayers to supplicate him in the Gelug tradition. Aside from you three, I have no other refuge. Panchen Lama made his point very clearly here, that the three are of one essence. Also, the second Dalai Lama, Gundeng Gyatso, expressed the same view. Buddhadharma Padmasambhava, Atisha, the head ornament of the 500 Pantitas, Buddha Vajradhara Tsongkhapa, the playful manifestations of one, to you I pray. This means that although the three of them, the accomplished one, Buddhadharma Padmasambhava, Lord Atisha, who was honored by the 500 Pantitas, and the true Vajradhara of Tibet, Je Tsongkhapa, appeared in different physical forms. One promoted the Nyingma tradition, whereas another propagated the Gelug tradition. Yet they are all of the same essence and manifestations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Patrul Rinpoche mentioned that Je Tsongkhapa, the Venerable Longchenpa, and Sakya Pandita are all manifestations of Manjushri. Manjushri manifested these three different figures, so people usually call them the three Manjugoshas of Tibet. If different lineages are completely paradoxical, Manjushri wouldn't have assumed various forms among these lineages. I once read a book called The Brief History of Gelugpa, written by Seten Lobsang Palden. It was used as a textbook by the high-level Tibetan Buddhist College of China. The verses I cited just now also appeared in this book with commentary. Also, there was a very prominent figure from the Gelug tradition who said that the three Dharma lords, Atisha, Gampopa, who was the spiritual successor of Milarepa, Je Tsongkhapa, are manifestations of Padmasambhava. Therefore, we should know that ultimately, great masters of Kagyu, Gelug, and Nyingma share the same intent. So how about Sakya masters? Are they no different from Nyingma masters? In the brief biography of Padmasambhava, there is a stanza which reads, "When the time comes on a higher ground called Sakya, born to the father Manjushri and mother Tara, is my emanation, whose name is Kunga Gyatsen. He will rebuild my palace hall." This is a rough translation from what I can remember of the Tibetan version. I used to read this brief biography of Padmasambhava every day. This stanza means that from a higher location called Sakya, a man named Manjushri, Jambi, and a woman named Tara, Droma, will give birth to a child, Sakya Pandita Kunga Gyatso, who wrote the Treasury of the Good Advice. He is my emanation, said Padmasambhava. This exact prophecy was made many years ago by Padmasambhava. He will build my palace halls. This indicates his effort in reconstructing and repairing the shrine halls of the early translation school. I can see some Sakya students here. They seem very happy and smiling. Therefore, Sakya Pandita is also a manifestation of Padmasambhava. Also, in the Jonan tradition, there was a remarkable master named Taranatha. According to his biography, he is a manifestation of the Venerable Longchenpa, as I have mentioned before. So the ultimate intent of the teachings given by great masters are not contradictory. It is totally fine for you to follow whichever lineage you choose. But please do not slander other lineages from your personal view. The situation has improved for the betterment now. In the past, a few individuals in the Gelug tradition weren't so well informed, so they attacked the Nyingma tradition. Great masters, true holders of Buddhadharma, later clarified the truth, since they know ultimately there is no contradiction among different traditions. So, in the same spirit, all sects of Buddhism in the world, may they be Tibetan Buddhism, Theravada Buddhism, or Northern Buddhism, they are just different paths leading to the same destination. The different paths are necessary. If there were no various sects in Buddhism, due to the human nature to discriminate between self and others, we wouldn't hold these teachings dearly and protect them. However, if we follow our own particular Buddhist sect, then we will feel a precious affinity, which consequently brings us much benefit. For example, we all have faith in the Buddha, but it is our spiritual teacher who gives us the teaching directly. So we have special gratitude to our Guru, and such gratitude plays a key arising for a better spiritual engagement. All in all, most Tibetan masters are manifestations of Padmasambhava. He has shown himself and bestowed innumerable blessings and instructions in front of scholars and accomplished noble beings. This is clearly evident in their respective biographies. You can read the biographies of different masters. Before making the pilgrimage to Mount Wutai, I read many biographies of great teachers of the Gelug, Sakya, Jonan, and Kagyu lineages, and can see that many accomplished beings had personally met with Padmasambhava, not to mention those of the Nyingma tradition. Many accomplished siddhas of the Nyingma tradition, and even ordinary practitioners, see Guru Rinpoche receive his blessings and empowerment in their dreams. A while ago, well, never mind. I had a very auspicious experience in my dream. Well, I better keep it to myself. As for other spiritual teachers, for example, there was a spiritual teacher called Hwagu Gyatso, who was an extraordinary tuku. His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok also sought advice from him. Some say that His Holiness might even have received teachings from him, but I'm not sure about that. When I first came to the academy, Tuku Hwagu Gyatso had a small house in the Dharma Wheel district at the academy. Tuku Huagu Gyatso had reached a high level of realization. During the Cultural Revolution, Buddhism was almost wiped out in Tibet. Back then, no one could be seen to study Dharma or recite mantras, because it would bring great danger if one was exposed. This is how strict the religious policy of that period was. Once, I heard a story which many people confirm it to be true. Tuku Huagu Gyatso had a dream one night. This happened almost 20 years ago, so my memory is a little bit blurry now. He dreamt about circumambulating a sacred mountain. While he was going uphill to a mountain that looked very much like the landscape of Laruk Valley, he could see clearly the trees and shrubs. When he reached the mountain top, suddenly thunder rumbled, and at that moment he experienced a state of enlightenment. As he was slowly approaching the front side of the mountain, all of a sudden, that mountain turned into Padmasambhava with a formidable presence. Light radiated from him, and the entire land of snow was glistening in glory. This light reached the whole land of Tibet and other places. The next morning he woke up and analyzed his experience and the various scenes from his dream. There seemed to be hope to restore Buddhadharma. That day, Khenpo Depa happened to write a prayer for the prosperity of Buddhadharma. The context is similar to Mipham Rinpoche's the prayer for spread of the Nyingma tradition. The lengths of both texts are similar. Later, we implored Khenpo Depa to write a commentary, which he did. So, on the very same day, he received this prayer. In fact, during that critical period, Khenpo Depa was always very cautious. But he wrote down this heartfelt aspiration secretly and sent it to the Tuku. When Huagu Gyatso received this aspiration, he told many people that this might be an auspicious arising for the restoration of Buddhadharma. When I first came to Larung, I told Tuku that I was from Domang Monastery. He said to me, "Khenpo Depa of Domang is remarkable. Don't take him as an ordinary Khenpo. He is truly phenomenal." A senior practitioner of high realization shared some stories. Undoubtedly, these are true stories. Once the blessings of Padmasambhava enter into our hearts, whether we are famous or not, many good signs will certainly emerge. I still remember the story of Jigme Norbu, a disciple of Jigme Limpa. Once he heard that Lama Jigme Rinzing of Gatok Monastery was to confer the empowerment of Padmasambhava. Although he was very young at that time, he went to attend the empowerment. Then he received his secret name during the empowerment, Yeshi Rinchen, which means the wisdom Vidyadhara. Since then, he had a strong conviction in Padmasambhava. Later, he continued his life as a shepherd. One day, he came to a very large rocky mountain. On this mountain, there was a cave where Padmasambhava visited and practiced. Being in front of this holy mountain, he began to pray to Guru Rinpoche fiercely. Not before long, the entire mountain turned into the majestic form of Padmasambhava, who was holding a vajra with a threatening gesture. He couldn't help but to pray wholeheartedly with the seven-line prayer and the Vajra Guru mantra. A while later, Padmasambhava suddenly vanished. Although he was very young at that time, he came to the realization that all teachings of different sects and traditions point to nothing but the realization of the nature of the mind. Right at that moment, he recognized the nature of the mind. Later, when he was around 40, he told the story in his dohas about how he personally met Padmasambhava when he was young and so on. His collections of dohas are very phenomenal. After seeing Padmasambhava, his dharma activity became prosperous along with the work to benefit beings. All went smoothly. In the biographies of many great teachers, we can see countless cases of receiving blessings or teachings from Padmasambhava. In fact, we don't need to have fame or success. As long as we pray wholeheartedly, we can all receive the extraordinary blessings of Guru Rinpoche. Similar cases can be found in the stories of these masters. Guru Rinpoche always says in the future when Maitreya is the Buddha of this world, he will appear as a bodhisattva and will be a teacher of beings and will greatly spread the doctrine of the secret mantra. He will appear as Bodhisattva Dodron. Dodron means taming and beneficial to sentient beings. Surely, he promised to appear at the same time as each of the Buddhas of this fortunate eon. Of course, it is said in some Shastras that Vajrayana will prosper during the time of Shakyamuni and two other Buddhas. It will not prosper at any other time. In fact, these two statements do not conflict. It means that Vajrayana will be propagated during the times of these three Tathagatas, just like how Vajrayana is flourishing now. In the time of other Tathagatas, fortunate eon, until samsara is empty, Padmasambhava will come and disseminate Vajrayana in various forms. But Vajrayana will not be as prosperous as it is now. It can be explained from this perspective. As long as there are sentient beings, he will remain in his immortal, indestructible wisdom body, the ground of his emanations. He will display his emanations as limitless as space and time, working for the welfare of the beings of the future. It is necessary to understand who Padmasambhava really is. Nowadays, some scholars and other people regard Guru Rinpoche as an ordinary Tibetan yogi with a top knot. They see him from a mundane sense. Sometimes, when I read about versions of Introduction to Tibetan Buddhism written by some famous Dharma teachers, scholars, and doctoral students, I couldn't continue with the reading. I just smile and put their books down. Other than that, I don't want to engage in any debates. We should know that for us ordinary beings, the actions and accomplishments of Padmasambhava cannot be fathomed. In the time of every Buddha of the fortunate eon, Padmasambhava will come to benefit sentient beings with his emanations. As he himself has said in his Vajra words, "Renowned am I as Padma, the self-manifest, emanated from the heart of Buddha Amitabha, boundless light. I, Padmasambhava, emanated from the heart of Buddha Amitabha, the sheen of high Avalokita speech. I am the light of the speech of Avalokiteshvara. Among the manifestations of the body, speech, and mind, this is the manifestation of speech, the brother of the Dakini and king of Dakas. I am the brother of all Dakinis. I am the action of the Buddhas of triple time. Great Samantabhadra, peerless Vajradhara, both am I, mighty and compassionate, appearing in my emanated forms. Strong is my activities, assisting beings as their needs require. I am their wishing jewel fulfillment of their hopes. As the principal deity of the Dharma activity of all Tathagatas across the 3 times, and as the peerless King Samantabhadra with great loving kindness and compassion, Padmasambhava appears in different forms according to the needs of sentient beings and fulfills their wishes. Guru Rinpoche also said, for beings who are strong in their devoted faith, I am swifter in compassion than all other Buddhas, until the 3 worlds of samsara are all void of beings. Padmasambhava's compassion will never be exhausted. For sentient beings with strong devotion, Guru Rinpoche's blessing and compassion are swifter than those of other Buddhas. Therefore, in the Nirvana Sutra, when Buddha was approaching Nirvana, apart from Mahakashyapa and Nanda, other disciples such as Kunda, Ananda, Moggalliyana, and thousands of holy and ordinary beings were present. When Buddha announced that he was entering Nirvana, many of those present bursted into tears. Buddha told them, in the future, in the stainless ocean with shining light, a man who is better than myself will be born. So a man better than the Buddha will be born, according to Buddha himself. Don't weep, so you all do not cry. This was stated clearly in the Nirvana Sutra. Thus, we must know the excellence of Guru Rinpoche. Of course, from the perspective of both compassion and wisdom, Buddha and Padmasambhava are no different from each other. Padmasambhava does not surpass Shakyamuni Buddha, but in the age of degeneration, when beings encounter all sorts of evil spirits and tritikas, if we pray to Padmasambhava, Guru Rinpoche's blessings come swifter than the Buddha's. Maybe a few practitioners of Sutrayana cannot embrace this statement, but there is nothing to negate. For example, in the Pure Land school, when it comes to helping beings to take rebirth in Dewa Chen, Amitabha's blessings are swifter than other Tathagatas. The same principle applies to Padmasambhava's power to dispel obstacles. I truly think that in this chaotic age of time, to succeed in your practice and attain enlightenment solely by your own effort is quite unrealistic. In times like this, our minds are easily distracted when we are troubled by obstacles that will definitely occur in our course of practice. However, if we rely on Padmasambhava, once his fierce blessings dissolve into our hearts, then our practice can progress without a hitch. So for every one of us, it is particularly important to pray to Padmasambhava at all times, no matter where you are. Regarding this, we must contemplate carefully. The compassion of Guru Rinpoche is inexhaustible. To whomever has faith in Padmasambhava, he will come to bestow blessings, empowerments, and siddhis upon that person. Now, we will explain the verses of the 7-line prayer. Mipham Rinpoche has already given a very clear literal commentary, so I will just read it out and you will understand. Such are the inconceivable exploits of Guru Rinpoche. One of these, as the 7-line prayer records, was the way in which he revealed his Nirmanakaya in this world. So how Padmasambhava manifested in the Jambudvipa continent is explained as follows. The prayer begins with the utterance of the syllable Hong, which is the self-arisen seed syllable of the mind of all Tathagatas. This invokes the enlightened mind of Guru Rinpoche himself. The self-arisen seed syllable of the mind, the Tibetan letter Hong, marks the origination of the prayer. Jambudvipa, This world of ours, located to the south of the cosmic mountain Meru, numbers 6 main provinces. Of these, the westernmost region is the country of the Vidyadharas. This is Uddiyana, or Orgyen, the Daikini's land, where upon its northwest rim or frontier there lies a stretch of water, replete with eightfold excellence and free from every imperfection. It can be said to be a very large lake. This is Lake Dharmakosha. It is a symbol of emptiness endowed with supreme qualities, the queen of the ultimate expanse. From the perspective of the profound completion stage, this is a symbol of emptiness, the queen of the ultimate expanse. This lake is perfect in every way, as is obvious, even to the perceptions of ordinary people. It is filled with lotus flowers, the largest of which, growing in the center, is a lotus of exquisite beauty in both its petals and pistil cup. On this flower stem grow other lotuses, thus making 5 in all. Each is of a different color, corresponding to the 5 enlightened lineages, and symbolizing the 5 wisdoms. The lotus in the middle is red to indicate the lotus lineage. We know that Padmasambhava is the mind emanation of Amitabha. In the color of red, the center of the lotus family, the never-ending knot, the precious and immaculate treasury of the heart of Buddha Amitabha is filled with the syllable Shri, shining with beams of 5-color light. The wisdom of body, speech, and mind of innumerable Buddhas of the triple time turns into the Tibetan letter Shri. It is the distillation of all the blessings and qualities of the 3 secrets of the unnumbered Buddhas, of the past, the present, and future. This is the origination of the syllable Shri. The 5-color light dissolves into the heart center of Amitabha. When the moment arrives for Guru Rinpoche to work for the benefit of beings, countless Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions scatter flowers, while the Dakas and Daikinis, together with the protectors and guardians of the Buddha fields, perform the Vajra dance and chant the Vajra song. Then, in order to bring joy and relief to beings of the 3 dimensions of existence, the syllable Shri descends onto the pistil cup of the central red lotus and transforms into the king of Vidyadharas, the great and fearless Guru. So the Tibetan letter Shri on the pistil cup transforms into Padmasambhava, who is without a peer in the 3 worlds and who is noble with many extraordinary qualities of greatness. How is he without a peer? He surpassed everyone in regard to his body, speech, mind, qualities, and activities. Through his immense merit, his very body is a source of benefit for beings. In general, these qualities are exclusive to Tathagatas. At the beginning of the Nectar of Manjushri's speech, it is said that when Buddhas explain the Dharma, they use 3 kinds of miraculous display of body, speech, and mind. By his teachings, he benefits them with his speech. With his mind, he benefits them through his awareness, wisdom. With inconceivable, miraculous power, he guides beings to liberation. So here it describes his body, speech, mind, quality, and activity. Then it describes how he benefits beings, which is similar to the 12 deeds of Buddha Shakyamuni. How was it like at first? He revealed himself in a self-arisen immaculate form, adorned with the major and minor marks of Buddhahood. This is how the letter Shri turned into Padmasambhava. He was then empowered as the son of King Indrabhuti, but later renounced the kingdom and embraced the life of a yogi, practicing in the 8 charnel grounds, where he trained in the boundless teachings of the outer and inner vehicles. The story of his life and deeds is beyond imagination. He displayed an illusory array of 8 manifestations. In 8 different sites, Guru Rinpoche appeared in 8 different manifestations. With invincible strength, he annihilated demons, rakshas, and evil spirits, and brought beneath his power the proud and haughty spirits of the world. He placed many beings on the path of the great secret that brings them to maturity and bestows liberation. He is the object of the most marvelous praises in the whole of the 3 worlds. And as we read about the wondrous, prodigious life of the Lord, the second Buddha, which is described in the trustworthy scriptures of the Karma and Dharma transmissions, we are inspired to have faith in him. There are many biographies of the second Buddha written by great masters. These are the trustworthy scriptures of the Karma transmission. The others are dharmas. It is crucial to generate faith towards the second Buddha or Guru Rinpoche, relying on these scriptural authorities. It is definitely worthwhile to take the time in reading the biographies of Padmasambhava, through which we will gain a new understanding of his life and activities. Moreover, not only does this great being possess the common accomplishments, but he is also perfectly and primordially enlightened. Supreme mastery, he has found the state of the union of the great Buddhadharma, and as the lotus-born, he is renowned in the endless array of infinite Buddha fields. From the perspective of the ultimate truth, it's not as simple as people think. Padmasambhava is not just an ordinary human being. We recognize him together with his retinue as the personification of the three refuge, the ultimate undeceiving protection to whom we can pray with utter confidence. First, it talks about Padmasambhava's place of birth, Lake Dhanakosha, how he came to this world, and then the life and activities of Padmasambhava. All of these have been concisely explained here. So, Dharma friends, if you wish to develop confidence in Vajrayana, you must first cultivate confidence in Guru Rinpoche. If you have a deep understanding and confidence in Padmasambhava, then you will know that Garab Dorji, Sri Singha, Vimalamitra, Jana Sutra of the Dzogchen lineage, all these accomplished ones are manifestations of Padmasambhava, or we can understand them as different forms of Padmasambhava. With such confidence, it will be easier for us to understand teachings like Dzogchen, the essence of clear light through the text, as well as biographies of many spiritual teachers of other traditions and their multifold forms of manifestation. However, if we don't have a good understanding of Padmasambhava, we might have some trouble embracing Vajrayana. As well, we will probably find it difficult to accept Sutrayana. We took refuge in Buddhadharma, which can be divided into Sutrayana and Vajrayana. If we separate Vajrayana and Sutrayana, does Sutrayana by itself represents Buddhadharma in entirety? Not at all. If we accept Buddhadharma partially and abandon the rest, it is very hard to say whether we can take rebirth in a pure land or to attain liberation. Now we have a better understanding about the object of our prayer and to know what Padmasambhava is like. This time, I didn't have too much time to read more biographies. There are many biographies written by great masters. If we have enough time, we will surely find many interesting stories. I've read the biography of Jigme Rinpoche, and I remember there are stories about how Guru Rinpoche took Jigme Rinpoche under his care. Similar stories can also be found in the biography of Longchen Rabjan, as you will see in many of Longchen Rabjan's compositions, that the concluding phrase at the end in the small print, it reads, written by Yogi Longchen Rabjan under the guidance of Orgyen Padmasambhava. So many Vajrayana masters were taken under the wing of Padmasambhava. I hope that Sutrayana practitioners could let go of their personal judgments. Biased opinions actually impose obstacles for your liberation. If you acknowledge Amitabha Buddha, but not the emanation of Amitabha, this would not make any sense. Thus, we should have confidence in all sects of Buddhism and pray wholeheartedly to the one which we hold the strongest faith, be it Avalokiteshvara, Padmasambhava, or Manjushri. You can pray to any noble one. It is perfectly fine. Nobody compels you to chant one specific mantra and prohibits you from reciting the other. You can choose the deity in whom you have the strongest conviction, recite the mantra, and engage in practices of this deity. If you do so, your mind transforms. As a Dharma practitioner, it is really important to receive the blessing from Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Once a practitioner is blessed, he is able to change himself, let alone to change others. Nowadays, there are scholars who are good preachers on philosophy, but the state of their minds is no different from that of ordinary people. In this case, no matter how eloquent they are, when they leave this world, their body will be left behind. Their consciousness will wander about in their intermediate state of bardo, filled with afflictions. A human birth is very hard to obtain. Hence, within the short span of our lives, we must exert fully in practice and entreat these wisdom Buddha deities. They will most certainly bestow blessing upon us, so that our mind stream improves for the better. For example, when you first came to the academy, you didn't know much about Buddhism, nor about many deities and spiritual teachers. Later, you have acquired much knowledge after contemplating and devoting your time into practice. When you leave our institute, you will certainly experience the transformation. It's like what some spiritual teachers used to say. Before sitting in meditation, he is an ordinary person. When standing up, the practitioner becomes an enlightened one. This is probably hard for us to do, but what we strive for is that when you first entered the institute or the Buddhist study group, you were an ordinary being with loads of afflictions. After putting in the effort for a while, when you go back to the secular environment, you will find yourself different from who you were before. This is why it is worthwhile for us to work so hard for Dharma teachings as much as possible. I hope you don't deceive others and fool yourselves. For each of us, if we truly devote ourselves into Dharma practice entirely, we will receive the extraordinary blessing and experiences.